Hello and welcome. Now today I want to talk about budget builds. Budget building has been around a while. Kind of goes back to old school hot rodding. I'm not talking about rat rodding. I'm talking about traditional hot rodding. Doesn't have to be perfect. They made do with what they had. I know people make fun of old school hot rodders all the time, but they didn't really have an aftermarket. They didn't have marketplace. They didn't have summit racing. They didn't have an online catalog, go buy whatever they want. They didn't have, again, all the aftermarket part goodies. They made do with what they had. A lot of times they went out to a salvage yard and found what they needed and made it work. And that is kind of an old school budget building. Today's time and age is a little bit different. We have the capability of pretty much buying anything we need, and we're lucky for that. I give credit to the old schoolers for being able to build those old school hot rods and not have access to the parts like we do nowadays. But again, I'm getting off subject. Now the budget building, it ain't got to be perfect. There's some things you just can't build on a budget. Let's be honest. Concourse restorations, numbers matching, that kind of stuff. Show cars, you're not gonna really build it on a what I would consider a budget. Those are just like, start throwing the money at them. Now, stuff like these two right here, these are budget builds. Are they perfect, and will they be perfect as a budget build? No. Will they be fun, and can you drive and enjoy them? Yes, and that's honestly one of the biggest things. Old school hot rodders, they built and enjoyed them. Now when it comes to budget building, obviously you want to keep track of everything to make sure you stay on a budget. You set your budget. What I like to do, I got a notepad, and write down the name, whatever vehicle, like this 85 here, write it down on top, how much I paid for it. I had this one towed home, so I added that fee into it. Everything I spent, I wrote down. And a lot of problems with people is they get nickel and dime to death. And nickel and diming will end up coming back and biting you in the ass. Especially if you don't keep up with it, because you're going to be like, where'd all my money go? So even, I bought a box of fuses, change of fuses, I wrote down that cost. Gas I put in it, every single little penny I wrote down, so I know where I'm at. Also, on that, if I sold a part, I added that to the equation and subtracted as I went along. Now I don't wait until after everything's done and add up all the receipts. No, every time I would spend the money, I would immediately write it down. Every time I sold a part, I'd immediately write it down. That way I know where I'm at. And that selling part is something else on budget building. And that is extremely important on a budget build. Because if you're trying to build on a budget, going from paycheck to paycheck, it takes a while. You lose interest. You only buy a part here, part there, whatever. Well, case in point, this S10 Blazer. It's a budget build. So we got it running. Had a 4.3 V6 in it, 5-speed. Wasn't running. I changed the spider injectors, a few sensors, and a fuel pump. Got it running. It was running good. He played with it a little bit, and well, it started making a bad noise. So the engine's shot. So now the owner decides that he wants to do a budget build and build a burnout machine and V8 swap it. Fair enough. That can get pricey, if a lot of you know. But in this case, we're going to do it on a budget. And this is a good example of this. So the engine's knocking. We can sell the engine as a core. We're not going to tear anything up. Now, if we wanted to get nitty-gritty, we could probably take out those spider injectors because they have less than 100 miles on them. Probably try to resell them for a little bit, whatever. You can get down that nitpicky. But what we are doing, selling the engine as a core, selling the 5-speed. Money back for the project already. Because the thing is, on anything, just about, someone can use parts. And they're trying to build a budget, on a budget. Or they just need something to get their vehicle running again. So not only are you helping your budget, you're also helping someone else. It's a win-win. So, like I said, selling the 5-speed. It had a K&N Kohler intake on it, selling it. It had aftermarket plug wires, selling those separately. The AC system, it actually worked, held Freon, and was really nice and cold. We took that off carefully, and that's part of it. If you want to make sure you get the most back on your budget build, stuff like this, you take apart carefully, not damage anything. That way you can get the most return. So we took the AC system off complete. Didn't even lose any Freon. Done. That way we can sell it all as one unit, as a working unit, already charged. And then of course it's going to take someone skilled to put it back in that way, but you know what? Whoever's buying that way is probably hopefully going to take their time and do it right. But yeah. So everything that we're not using, we're taking apart carefully, as careful as we can. Obviously, I'm aware that there are some parts that are old, brittle, and it's difficult to take them apart and not damage them, but we try the best we can to get the most return, to put that money back into it and get it done quicker and on the budget. Now, of course, let's not forget shopping around. Now, you're going to want to shop around and find the best deals you can. You don't want to go with the cheapest parts, though. Sometimes cheapest part may be in your budget, but in the long run, it's going to end up hurting you. So you don't want to go that route. Shop around, find good parts. Sometimes you can catch them on sale. Sometimes you can find good used, Marketplace, Craigslist, if you know. Sometimes that still works. eBay, not so much anymore, but sometimes you can still find good used. Now also, you can find good new for a fair price from someone who bought it for a project, didn't use it, end up not fitting correctly, whatever. Change plans, all that good stuff. You can still find those around. Of course, going to swap meets, you can still find those. They're not as common as they used to be, at least in my area. Some areas you got some nice big swap meets. It's easier to do a budget build because you have a bigger swap meet in your area. So area kind of has a little bit of effect on Marketplace and swap meets. Now this one is following almost the same example as my S10 budget build I did years ago, because so the plan is for his budget not just sell all these parts, but he's building another truck as well, and that is a 94, has a throttle body 350 and the 4L60E. Well, he's going to build a big block and put in that. So he's not using the engine, not using transmission. He's not going to use the wiring harness. Now, yes, he could sell that and put that back into that truck, but those engine transmissions are not as desirable. But what he can do is put it in this. So, in retrospect, it's helping both. He could get a little bit of money, but everything he's taking out of this is getting money back and putting into that, henceforth and so on. That's hot rodding, and that's all that. Now, paint and body, we're not going to spend a lot of money on a paint job. Not going to happen. It's a budget build. You don't have to have a pretty paint job to drive your hot rod. Guess what? Back in the day, that's why there's flats and satins. You did body work by hand, the best you could, and you sprayed it with flat or satin. It was cheaper, easier, quicker, and it looked a lot better than mismatched, looked a lot better than rust, and it was fairly priced. And I'm not opposed to doing rattle can. I don't care. As long as it's not rusty looking. A rattle can is fine. And you can do that on a budget. It may take some practice to make sure you at least get, make it look half decent. But still, there's nothing wrong with a rattle can paint job, in my opinion. Of course, not everyone has an air compressor. Not everyone has spray guns. Not everyone has a place to paint. This one sits right here. We'll probably rattle can that satin black and be done with it. It's going to be quick, easy, and on a budget. And that is budget building. Now, I hope this little car talk was enjoyable, gave you some ideas, helped you out, all that good stuff. And as always, thanks for watching.